Welcome to the Beats and Beans podcast with me, Sam Turner. I really hope you're doing well. And today's episode is a little chat that I had with John Seaton, who's a good friend of mine. He's an independent artist that I've actually worked with personally. And he just has a really inspiring attitude towards making music and what being successful as an artist means. Now, it is quite a long episode, but John just kept on dropping gold. And to be honest, I could have actually chatted to him for many more hours. And I didn't really want to take out anything that would be useful just for the sake of making it shorter. Now, towards the end, you're going to hear John really open up about his mental health and how working in music has played a part in that. And I'm so grateful that he was able to share that with me. And it's something that I can now put out to the world for you guys to really hopefully get some value from. It was super relatable for me. I think it's great when you can see almost like a weight lifted off of someone's shoulders just because they could get some words out. So I'm really, really glad that he was able to do that. So without further ado, here we go. So first things first, what are you drinking? What's in the cup?
What a fool I am. Well, no, right now.
Go on.
Let's start this with an apology. Watch how my brain works. This is a great insight for listeners or watchers of my facial expressions change. There is nothing that I'm drinking. Now, I want to caveat that with maybe an apology later down the line, but I'm going to do the typical man thing and blame. So the first thing I'm going to do is blame, let me think. There was something I was going to blame. Oh, yeah, my own bodily functions. If I have a coffee, we're filming this at 6:20 on a Wednesday. If I have a coffee now, I will disrupt my relationships with others outside of this podcast. Let's put it that. I'm not going to name any names in my personal life, but I will harm other people with endless talk, not fists, purely just chat. Just to clear that up before anyone cancels me. What a great start that would be. Cancelled in the first minute. So I do want to make that very clear. I haven't got a drink. Also, I was rushing, another thing to blame. I have a job. I rushed back. I didn't have time to make the coffee. Again, 3 minutes, but I'm an asshole. So I made a burrito instead out of leftover chili con carne filled with equal parts meat and cheese, which is why I was 3 minutes late. What I'm saying is I chose my own feelings over your success as a podcaster. That's it, basically.
I'm so glad you're here as a guest, Sean. You've got my best interests at heart. But thank you very much for your honesty. And you know what? It is 6:20. I wouldn't recommend drinking coffee at this time. I'm doing it for the sake of, because we're here. And that's
Cinema.
What we're here for.
You filled your end of the bargain. I turned up late, still with burrito in my mouth, with a shit ton of excuses. None of which are lies. All of that is all true. All of that is true, by the way. People are like, oh, John's just fabricated. This is typical artist behaviour. No, it's all true. It all happened. But let me say this to try and pull it back. And this is not I'm not saying this to make you feel better, because why would I do that? Why would I do that? I absolutely fucking love your coffee. People are like, oh, it's been paid to say that. I'm getting paid.
Yeah, I'll slip you a fiver later, John.
I'm an independent, unsigned artist. We don't do this for money. Now, that little pocket in your jeans, and the smaller one next to your big pocket, the tiny little square, that is where all your Spotify money goes. Just to give perspective on how much money I earn. So I'm not doing this for the fee. Purely, the coffee is fucking great. Like I made some for me and the other person who I pester with my words for life. And we were like, this is unbelievably good. Like, this is the best coffee I've made at home by far in a cafetiere. or French press, maybe you call it that. Who knows? Coffee listeners, coffee lovers out there, I want to make it acceptable for all terminologies. But very good coffee. What one did I have? You're going to ask now. Tell us the 3 coffees because I can't remember the fucking names because I'm useless. So there's
I'm
the high
pretty
pass
sure
filter.
you've got 4 to the floor.
That's it. 4 to the floor. Very good. It's gone
And
now,
then
by the
you've
way. I
got-
need to get some more.
Oh, good. Oh, well, that's good
Done
to
it.
know. Well,
It's
I'm putting my prices up, so
It's perfect.
No, I'm not.
Just in time. You capitalist swine.
putting them up for you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, imagine that, like a redeeming voucher that actually charges you more.
Yeah, most people I give out discounts to you. I give out a tax. A John Seaton tax.
Just because you've fucking turned up late and filled your
burrito
face with
tax.
a burrito. Yeah, burrito tax. I like this. Anyone listening to this on any social media, please, the hashtag to use while listening to this is hashtag burrito tax. All one word, obviously, because the hashtag doesn't work otherwise. Hashtag fans. My point is, very good coffee. How did you? I really want to understand. We'll talk more about my other ailments in music, but how did you come to? Because it's really interesting. I will say this: I'm really interested with the card and like how the beans are ground, the tasting notes and stuff. And I've never really had that before. Like, I'm genuinely curious. Like, how did you come? How did you decide all that stuff? How does it work for you from your perspective?
Well, depends where you want to start. Because you probably have more to do with this whole thing than you might realise, right?
God.
So,
oh no.
in a good
What
way.
have I said?
So let's have a bit of backstory. This will
Okay.
be good because this will be an early episode. So I think some context for people will be useful. Where should we? So a bit of background. Me and Sam Jump were producing a song of yours, right? And you came down to Cardiff to the studio, and you stayed in Airbnb not far from the station, and that's where I met you, right? Met you there, and we walked down 10-20 minute walk to the studio, coffee in hand,
Yeah. Oh my
and
God,
we had
yeah.
a really good chat, right? I think I think you were talking about like Still Like an Artist. We were just talking about music and careers and stuff. We had a really good chat, and that whole like thing was just something I really wanted to celebrate more of, and really not take it for granted. Like just hanging out, having a nice coffee, having a chat, and just kind of getting as much, insight into other people's lives and experiences and their creative processes. Because that was the second day we met or something?
Yeah. Second day, yeah.
But that was such a good conversation. And we went and, done the main bulk of the work later on. But I really wanted to make something that celebrated that moment. And so I thought a brand of coffee that becomes synonymous with that little really awesome bit of time.
Wow.
And encourages that, and just encourages people to make more of that moment where you all just take a little break in the day. You're not actually making music, you just pause, make a coffee, and you just chat about stuff. Sometimes you chat about utter nonsense, but sometimes you have really, really fruitful conversations. You learn a lot about each other. Yeah, it's exciting. It's really early days. It's been It's been 4 weeks. It's been a month, and it's been crazy. It's been insane. I didn't really set any goals or expectations for it. I just thought, get it out, get it working, and I moved towards this. Like doing this really gets to the heart of what the whole brand is about. Really, talking to people in music. And just kind of sharing, stories and insight and kind of how your musical journey has been, how it's treated you, and how that kind of impacts the rest of your life. And that's where this will go. We'll cover all that sort of stuff. But I guess first thing to clear up for those that don't know who you are, don't know the infamous Mr. John Seaton, tell us who you are.
I was just thinking about this the other day, yesterday actually, and I find it's a massive difference between. Someone else was talking about this very recently I don't particularly like him, but on a Joe Rogan podcast. I feel like you could be the Joe Rogan of caffeine. I'm just saying it. I'm just leaving it there.
Wow. That would be something, wouldn't it?
I don't want to make people think. But someone was on there saying it's really funny the difference culturally between the US and the UK. In the US, when someone says, "What's your story?" they just tell them right straight away what their story is. Without even, you sit next to someone on a bus in America, they'll tell you they've had 2 miscarriages, they've got 3 daughters, they've moved from state to state. Like, they'll tell you everything. Whereas in the UK, when someone says, "What's your story?" my instant reaction is like, shit, what's wrong? Like, our association with that is you're in a police interrogation room, I think he said. Like, oh shit, what's your story? So I always talking about, I don't know if this it'll go out on air, but we're just talking about before how it's hard to take a compliment and be like, I don't know how to answer that. I don't know how to take that. And I find it's the same for me. Like, what do I say about myself other than without? And I'll say why I feel like this, because I don't feel comfortable saying I'm an artist, and I can't pretend to say I'm comfortable. Be like, I'm an artist. Because I don't know why, but I have an association, maybe it's my working class values, with that being a sort of high society, snobby music thing. But I guess the way I kind of get around is that I write songs. I don't write them for a living. I write them purely, and this took me a long time to come to terms with, but I make music purely for my own satisfaction. And we'll talk a bit more about that in a second. But I suppose in terms of like, people are like, oh, this guy just rambles, get to a point. I think the point is I've spent time as a working paid musician, guitarist, working abroad, working cruise ships, working in hotels, wedding bands. And now I don't do that, but I did that and was paid for it, and had a lot of trouble coming to terms with the fact that I wasn't happy with doing that. I wasn't happy. Like, why wasn't I happy? Because that was my dream from being about 12, 13 years old, to play guitar for a living, right? And here I was playing guitar for a living. So what's wrong? What's wrong with the picture? And I think it took me a long time to realise that I wasn't getting a creative output. I wasn't expressing myself. I was playing other people's songs, great as they are. Love the Beatles, love the Stones. I cannot count the amount of times I've saw her standing there to 3 very senior citizens. And that's great. Like, there's good things about that. I enjoy parts of it I enjoyed, but I never felt fully like comfortable with it. And I guess that's why I struggle to answer this question in like a sentence, be like, I'm a singer-songwriter, because I'm not really. I think I'm all of those things, but I just love making music, and I don't really care. I care a lot. I don't care about anything else like involved outside of music, other than that. Like, obviously I'm a music fan. I love listening to music and I love making music. But I think as soon as I start saying like, oh, who are you? Like, what is that label? What does that mean to me? Like, I have trouble with every other label, but I just like making music. So I make music and I write songs and collaborate and connect with other people who make music. Really, it's as simple as that. I think the reason I say this is a great therapy session, by the way. The reason I say this is that that's what gives that is all that matters for me. That we'll definitely dive into this, but anything else doesn't give me that satisfaction musically outside of that. Like, and I feel like any other label makes me feel like that perception is a bit different. Like, oh, I'm a struggling or an independent artist, or I'm unsigned, or like I'm a singer-songwriter, and there's more questions that fire off that. So I guess the short answer is I make music. There you go. Awesome. That was a long answer, wasn't it?
No, that's great. There's obviously a lot to unpack, but firstly, hello, dog. The difference between US and UK culture, like the ability to not even the ability, the confidence and the certainty in your story or life and delivering it in a conversation, an interview is remarkable for Americans. I mean, it feels a little bit rehearsed. Maybe it is. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. But it's, you know what it is? Public speaking as a skill taught in America quite widely, and I think they're better off for it, having the confidence to just talk and just the articulation. It's all, you know, they don't hesitate. They know their story. They're confident with it, and they just can come out with it. I think that's quite incredible. And I think, considering the amount of time I had wasted at school with utter nonsense lessons, public speaking should be put on the curriculum. But aside from that, just like, yeah, the hesitation, or I guess the uncertainty to label yourself as anything, because you can put yourself in a bit of a box and drum up some kind of drama that perhaps isn't there. Like, yeah, I'm a struggling independent artist. Like, that comes with a kind of caricature almost, doesn't it, of what that might look like. But I like your attitude. You know, you make music. I kind of, me and Jump, we think kind of the same way. When, you know, we songwriters, we producers. I don't know. We just make music. Like, that's what we do, and love doing it. And I really, really relate to, you know, that's what gives you drive, and that's it. Like, a music takes up so much of your, like, soul, and it has to, right, to kind of get anywhere with it. And you realise that you spend time doing anything else, and it's like, just want to do music.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? And I think, and again, I'm knee deep in a book that is so at the minute called Lost Connections by a guy called Johann Hari, which is about JohannHari. It's about depression and the causes of depression. I find that shit really interesting, but I'll quote a lot from it because I feel like I've read A, it's quite fresh in my mind, and B, when you said about this interview, I'm conscious not to ape him and actually speak my own thoughts as well, but a lot of the things I've been reading in this book, like, oh yeah, that's why I feel like that. And I think, and one of the things he said, which is so key to what we're talking about, is, and this is all societal stuff, and I would say Western society more than outside of the West, for sure. Like, our values systems in our societies, try and look at them in a different way. So there's two types of ways we can choose to do things we do, right? So take the piano here. Imagine you're a pianist, right? And you go in your bedroom every morning at 9 in the morning and you play piano for an hour. And the only reason you play piano for an hour is because you love playing piano. It makes you feel good. That's it. That's the relationship, right? Now that's called an intrinsic value. That's something that you do for yourself because you love it, right? Now, if I was to go in the room, if I was, I don't know, playing loads of shitty toilet venues to try and pay rent playing piano, or if I was playing piano to impress a girl so that she would like me, or if I was working for a shitty corporation going around doing piano tours, I'm not doing it for me, right? I'm doing it for someone else. And that's an extrinsic value. You have a mixture of both as humans, right? We can't do everything purely because we love it. Some of us have jobs that we don't particularly like, but we do them to pay our mortgage or our rent, right? Now, studies have shown the more humans who embody intrinsic things, I just do it. I just write songs because I love it, right? Anything else is a bonus. The same as you making music. Like, I do it because I get fucking joy from it. I get pure joy. Sometimes hair stand up on the back of my neck. I feel really expressing myself. I'm letting emotions out when I write, etc. Right? That's all intrinsic to me, right? So that studies show that the more intrinsic values that you have as a person, the scale is huge. Like, the amount of, there's been real proper studies into this. Like, you're way more likely to get depression or anxiety. Like it doubles and doubles the more extrinsic things you do, and the sliding scale, the more things you do for yourself. And it's like when I read that, I was like, shit, that's why I love it. That's why I wasn't happy on the ships playing covers, or why I could just go through the motions playing guitar for wedding gigs. Sorry if anyone was attending those weddings, I played them with heart and passion. But that's what it just set off a load of these thoughts in my head, and hopefully it will, maybe for you, for other people, like, shit, what else am I doing that I really do because I love it? What am I doing? What am I not doing? How can I like try and restore that balance? Because I think it's very easy, and this is where I have, and I know we're going to talk about this anyway, but I may as well go into now. This is why I have a problem, like, with social media and marketing and putting yourself out there, because all that shit, and the same as, I went to a gig the other day, and halfway through the gig, everyone had their phone out and they were filming it and capturing it. Now, why were they doing that? Where they know full well the audio quality is going to be terrible, as well as the picture quality going to be absolute dog shit. Well, I'll tell you why. It's envy. They want to share it online and make their friends feel envious of their position. I'm doing this extrinsically because I want to make other people look at me as a better person, right? And it's the same thing is very easy, and I did it last year, and to a degree part of this year, until I was like, it's very easy to fall under the trap of like, oh fuck, how many people are liking my picture? How many people are following me? How can I do better than this person? Like, none of that shit matters. That's all based extrinsically. You're therefore making music to please someone else other than yourself. And that's fine if that's what you're doing it for. If you're doing it as a way to make money purely, then I will not stop you. That will be your route to do it. But I know I'm not the only one who's like, I do this because I fucking love it, man. Like, and I feel like it's very easy to get caught up in that trap of like, if you just put a bit more money into Facebook ads, if I just get a bit further, I get a few more streams, right? Then people look at me differently. Then people say, oh, I'm successful. Oh, I'm doing better at things because look, I did better. And then the reverse that happens, right? Then you release something and it doesn't get as many streams as the last song. Or you put a post up, it doesn't get quite as many likes, and you're defeated. You're like, fuck, I'm a failure now. I'm doing something that I like, but I feel like I've failed at it. Like, what a weird fucking sentence, right? But it's so easy to get caught into this thing of like, oh, no, I've got to get better, got to keep improving. Music isn't and shouldn't, in my opinion, be that. It's not a case of you want to improve, I want to improve as a songwriter, but I don't, as I said this at the start, I guess it's still true. I don't really give a fuck what anyone else thinks about my music generally, because I give a fuck about it enough to know that I want to improve and I want to like nurture my own abilities and own skills and get better at expressing myself or writing. Like, you'll never win. You'll never win when you're trying to get likes or trying to get subscribers or like, just see how many comments you've got on a post. It's fucking madness, and it never stops. It will never stop, right? And I know people are listening to this, and hopefully, even if one person's going, fuck, he's right, yeah. And it's not me, it's like scientific study, so don't blame me. Like, please, like, put a timer on your fucking Instagram and spend the 1.5 hours writing. Like, just I'm not saying don't go on it. Just do 5 minutes a day, put something on there and respond to a couple of messages or all your messages. And go and do the thing you love. Do the thing that no one can fucking touch you for and no one can judge you for. And that is my TED Talk. But do you know what I mean? I feel like that shit's really important because I see so many people hurt themselves with it. Like, a lot of people, I get it, took it up in lockdown and then stepped away from making music and releasing it. And that's fine too. Like, it's okay if it was just a lockdown project. We all made banana bread. Like, and that's fine, right? But the point is, like, it can be quite damaging. I'd hate for someone to, and I definitely think this happens, like when people are very harsh, and I follow a lot of artists, very harsh and critical to themselves, sometimes subtly, but sometimes not subtly, on how their music's performing. And I just think you're not this isn't the footsie, man. Like, try and find some, like, the reason you do it. And I think, like, please just switch off from that stuff, because it's not gonna bring you the joy that you want from it. Like, and again, it goes exactly back to the thing of compliments. Like, no compliment is either good enough, like, I want to be a fucking sun god, worship me, or I have no self-worth because I didn't get enough likes on a post. So no matter what compliment you give me, I'll always want more. Like, they've, I was saying this the other day, like, they've fucking nailed it now. Like, years ago when we went on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or even WhatsApp, like, we could sort of give and take it, right? And I think that in society, we're getting to the point where we're like, I don't feel like someone said, Noel Gallagher said in an interview recently, again, probably flippantly, but it's like, phones are all your fucking life now, man. I was like, yeah, they do. They've nailed it, haven't they? No matter what allegations come out about Facebook and Instagram and that, no one's going to stop. And it's the same with things like, God, I'm going on a fucking good rant here.
I love it.
Same as
Keep
things
going.
like Amazon or ASOS, right? Why would I go to the fucking high street? Are you kidding me? I can get something cheaper delivered within hours, and I can send it back for free. And if I don't like the size of the skirt that I've bought from ASOS, I can send it back and get another one in a day. Deaf to the high street, of course. Like, no matter what these people do, like, they've won. They've won us over. So it's like, I say all this with being like, turn your phones off. I know people won't, and that's fine, because it's a fucking hard battle. But we are on the side, especially if you are like, I say this loosely because I think everyone has creativity in them, but like, if you're making music and you're, creating some form of art out of nothing, then I get it. Like, but you that's your fucking loophole, right? You want to share it with the world, but share it with the world for 2 minutes a day. You can do it for 2 minutes. Trust me, I've done it. I'm doing it now, and it's fine. Everything's okay. My mental health's a lot better. And I'm spending more time writing. I'm spending more time doing the thing I like, and I keep building on that, and that feels good, right? So we haven't got the excuse of, I'm just scrolling on Instagram for nothing, right? We've got music to promote, and I understand you want to share it with people, but also you've got to make music. You got to go do the music thing, right? And I'm 100% not saying I'm perfect at all. I was very, very guilty of spending hours and hours a day on Instagram, right? But I wasn't writing as much music, and I wasn't getting as much satisfaction. I was getting that knot in my stomach when a post went up. And it's fucking nuts, man. Like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about that. Worry about improving your stuff and making your stuff as good as it can possibly be. And I promise you, like, when you then do share it with the world, if you really want to look at it from a numbers perspective, trust me, the quality will be better, so more people will be interested in it. But again, it's very addictive, right? Very addictive. It's very easy to fall into. We all do it. We walk into work looking at our phones now when there's trees and shit. Like, it's very hard to snap out of it, but we have the benefit as creatives or artists that we've got something else to fill our time. So fill it. I think that's the answer. Fuck knows what the question was. The question was about 20 minutes ago. I've grown a beard in giving you that answer. But
my dog walked in and walked out.
That's the typical reaction, to be fair.
In that time. No, dude, I mean, I was hoping you'd say more or less that, because that's, you've really got to the heart of what's in the DNA of social media, right? That everything you've said that's why it works, that's why people are on it. It predicates on those kind of human emotion. It's designed to keep you angry. Their whole business model, their whole way of making money relies on you and everybody else spending more time on any given platform, right? It's the attention economy. And, you're sort of referring to studies and things. Well, anger keeps you invested in stuff. You can't help yourself. You're scrolling, and the more things that are on there to keep you in a negative mindset of generally anger, but things that go with it, anxiety over your last post, like, you'll put more time into it. And then you can be sold as a number for advertising. And I think it's very telling when, you hear about employees of Facebook and Instagram refusing point blank to let their kids have access to these things. I think, okay, yeah, there's definitely, this is built in such a way that's considered dangerous. But the thing is, even knowing all that stuff, you get sucked into it. And me and Jam had a very, very similar conversation the other day when we come to the realization that sometimes we'd sit down to make some music. I'm going to put that in air quotes, because really what we're doing is getting in the studio, setting stuff up and making stuff for Instagram. That's what it was for. And after a while, I kind of felt it at the time, but it was only after when we spoke about it, it's like, this isn't being a music producer. This is being a content creator for Instagram in the guise of a music producer. And you see people doing it and they do very well off it. They have high follower counts and high view counts, all these things. I don't know what any of them are producing. I don't know can you measure success as a music producer? That's going to be individual, but it's not like, you don't see Rihanna's producers doing this sort of stuff. I mean, okay, arguably they don't need to, but they're out just making music. That's all they're doing, worrying about that stuff. And we definitely lost sight of that for a while, and we were in it, and you can't tell until, for whatever reason, you manage to step away from it, take some time out and think, we're focusing on the wrong thing here. We're focusing on making stuff that gets, likes, views, shares, and that kind of ego boosting stuff. But it doesn't last. It's never enough. You just, like you say, it's not a game you can win. And that's why people do it, because there's no ceiling. There's always something more to try and get. And it makes you really unhappy.
Yeah, well, I want to be... It increases, and this is the thing, I'm really conscious at the minute of not being like, do this, you'll be good, do this, you'll be bad. Like, it increases that sort of mindset. Instagram and Facebook could burn down, there'd be something else that replaced it. Look at MySpace. Like, that's not the specific problem. The problem really is it increases the probability to feel unhappy or anxious or depressed or nervous about something that you keep right at the desk. It doesn't matter. No one's going to fucking call me. Why is my phone out? For the first time last week, I turned my phone off the whole fucking day. Friday night, I didn't turn it back on until Sunday morning. And do you know what I missed? Nothing. I missed nothing, right? Nothing happened. I had like 2 texts to respond to. It's fine. I had shit on outside my phone. Do you know what I did? I sat in the room, put some records on and did some drawing and did some artwork and went for a walk and had more meaningful conversations and didn't dampen, dull down my soul. But I'm not saying this to be like, oh, John's fucking great. This guy you've got, what a fucking hero. It's not about me. I'm just saying, like, and I say this all with, like, it's a societal thing. Like, we've got to be really careful as a society that we don't completely fucking lose our attention span to find joy in anything outside of apps. Like,
yeah, I always think it's so easy to make social media the bad guy, isn't it? But I think some of this stuff isn't new, right? Maybe the medium's changed, but artists struggling with their mental health and chasing success, not getting it right, and that's always been a thing. I mean, look at the rock stars of the 60s and 70s. It's always been an issue. So I'm always careful to completely write off social media as this big evil thing, because again, you got a song coming out. Well, how are you going to let people know about it? What other options have you got at this point? So I think it's just something to be really, really aware of and really understand how it works and how you can be used and how it can manipulate you. And ultimately, it probably does just come back down to what you're saying, get your priorities straight, focus on the right thing, focus on understanding what can actually make you happy. And it won't be numbers. It just never will be of any description. And social media lives on that, right? That's all they'll ever give you. numbers that you want to see. So it's, it begs the question, what else might you do? If you really, really think it's a dangerous tool, it can have very negative knock-on consequences for your art. Let's say you want to put some of it out there. What else are you going to do?
It's funny, isn't it? Because I think we maybe have to go back a layer. Because I think you're right. Like, why can't? Is it a necessary evil? Right? Do we have to do this? Like, and for a lot of people, I'd say, don't feel. Why do you feel you need to share it? Right? Like, it doesn't matter if maybe that's not your thing. Because I know some people who make their own music, is deeply personal to them, and will never share it with the world because it means too much to them, and it doesn't. For them, it doesn't need to connect with others. It connects with them, right? And I think, talking about songwriting anyway, it also, and this is again maybe cliche or not, but it starts with emotion, right? That when you write something, it starts with that feeling, and if it doesn't, then there's still some feeling in there that is interloped in what you've written. Like, it's not nothing. Like, so that emotion is driving it, and for some people, putting that internally into the outside world is too much, right? You're very open. It's a very vulnerable space, isn't it? To put something that you've made out. Like, even when you go back to being a kid and you'd drawn something in class, like, you'd feel if your teacher held up your picture that you drawn in front of the rest of the class and asked them what they thought about it, right? How would that make you feel as a child? You'd be really feel really vulnerable and quite raw. Like, what are other people going to say about me? How are they thinking? So, I get it. Like, if you've crossed that barrier, let's say you've crossed that barrier into wanting to put music out into the world, then the question really is, where do you draw the line between you being happy with what you're happy with and having a connection with others? Because for me, if one person listens to one of my songs for 3 minutes, right, and it takes them, it means something to them. Maybe it becomes 3 minutes of a day or part of their fucking life story, and it bookmarks something in their life, right? That one person, if that happens to one person, that is like the fucking universe to me, right? And I feel like I'd like to think I've probably achieved that now. So I don't see where the question I'm really saying is, like, if you're going to be that vulnerable to put stuff out, where is the line for you to feel like you've got payback, I guess, use the marketing phrase, return of investment, but return of emotional investment, right? What are you going to get back that is enough to satisfy you? And for some people, it's getting the golden 1,000 streams, maybe that's their thing, and they will feel satisfied and complete. But again, going back to your thing about self-awareness, be really fucking clear about that. Like, if you get 1,000 and you're still not satisfied, then that thing's broken, right? That idea you have isn't built, again, going back to intrinsic values, it's not built on how you're really feeling. So you're trying to do it for a different purpose. So 100%, look, I want music can connect people. It's connected me to people. We will go to gigs. Got a gig coming up December the 4th in Hove. Come down.
Yes, we will talk about that a bit more.
We will talk about and even that, like, I said the other day, like, and it's only a small venue. It's like 90 capacity, right? 90, not 19. Gone are those days, guys. But and there's still that thing of me, like, checking how ticket sales are going. Fuck, what if no one said? And I was just like, it doesn't matter, because I'm getting to play these songs with a fucking band, man. I'm getting to play these songs as expressively as they can possibly be with really talented musicians. So even if one person is sat in the audience, it's worth it, right? And I'm going to have a great time because these songs will get the justice they deserve, like on a stage. I'll get to perform these songs. This still like I think about this all the time and I'm rehearsing at the minute. I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. Like being able to hear these songs like live with a live band. I've never done that before. Like these songs were made in the studio or like put together on laptops and in rooms in converted barns and shit. Like, so getting to play them on a stage and let these songs like breathe, man, I'm like, I don't care. Maybe everyone will cancel me. There'd be 5 people in there, including the sound man and the band. Like, fine. Like, and I think it's really important going back to that thing of like self-awareness. Like, if your aim is to headline Glastonbury, and maybe my aims are just too small in the world we live in, I should be thinking bigger, right? But like, who cares? That's again, comparison is the thief of joy. Theodore Roosevelt. But
just found my little header.
There you go. Maybe your thing is to headline Glastonbury, right? And that's great. And maybe you'll get there. Maybe you'll try. And no matter what you do in between that, will never be enough. And going back to your thing with the us taking compliments or being able to give ourselves a pat on the back, or you with the coffee stuff, like not even be able to look back yet and be like, oh yeah, I did launch my own company and I've sold some coffee to people who really enjoy it. Like when you're aiming for the top of the mountain, right? And it's not so much like, it's not the journey, it's not the destination, it's the journey. And I guess maybe it's a play on that, but like when you aim so high, it's so easy to look past all the little shit, like enjoy the little things. Like another study was done recently that found that the most important things to people aren't the big milestones, like getting married or having children. It's all the little things like that people mention. It's when I first saw my wife turn around the corner wearing her wedding dress, or when my child took their first steps, right? It's those intrinsic tiny little stories that if you just thought about, oh, I've had a child now, that's it, right? Or I've had one child, but I want to have 3. So are you going to really appreciate all those, like those are the things that are intrinsic, like the time with Alex, my fiance, where we're having a really shit day and we went, do you know what? Let's get pizza and go to the beach. I still think about that day every fucking week because we got in the car and we drove to the beach. We just sat there. It was lovely. It was great. There's no aim in that, right? I've got to go to the beach today or I will not be happy, right? There was none of that. You just got to look at those smaller things. I guess to answer your question in the world's most convoluted way, like put your stuff out into the world, right? And if that is really what you want to do, please do it, because I do think, of course, like there's beauty in sharing your thing with other people. Otherwise, you wouldn't have any music to listen to, right? Like, but also understand that if you can't get that initial joy in the beginning, then none of that, no matter how successful you are, is ever going to make sense to you. You're never going to be able to make sense of that joy.
Yeah, mate. I always think of Dermot Kennedy. If you're thinking about what it means to be successful as an artist, right, and kind of where you're trying to draw those boundaries. He, to me, is, maybe this has changed now, but certainly when he was younger and coming up and everyone knew who he was mad lucky. But he said, look, I just started making songs that were for me. That's all music was. I was just making songs that I enjoyed singing and playing and meant something to me, and other people just started enjoying them too. I was like, that's it. That's all you could ever want. Like, and that is, if that starts to happen, and like I said, that starts with one person connecting with it, and so like that was amazing. Like that really, that connection exists. Then I guess it doesn't really matter whether it's 100, a million, like it's the same thing. You've got something intrinsic there that you can be really grateful for and mean something, because the numbers stuff is like, it's so arbitrary. If you've got a goal, say, right, I want 1,000 streams within 24 hours, this song, it's like, okay, fine. Why 1,000? Why not 10? Why not 100,000? Why have you picked that number? Largely, it's not really any like there's nothing to it other than ego, really. And when that 1,000 happened, it's like, oh, 2 would have been nice, or 10 would have been nice, because you'll always compare yourself to someone that done more. You've not paid a single bit of attention to who were those 1,000 people that listened to it.
Yeah.
And when you start going down that route, that is when things get sticky, because that's when you start getting into just all I really need to get good at is Facebook advertising, because that will get me those 1,000 plays no matter what.
Yeah.
And if you do well with it, yeah, maybe it will. But where does that lead? Like, you've not really got any real, fans, people that are connecting to music behind that. That doesn't last. All you've just paid to get that number and that ego boost, and that will be very short lived.
And people hate it. No one likes, unless you have a devout passion for Facebook ad making, which they exist. But I don't think I've not spoke to a single artist, and I've spoken to a few. None of them have expressed how much they love making ads. They all feel like they're fucking over their mates because they have to. When I see an advert, I'm like, I go on Instagram on my laptop because you don't get ads on it, or like I put an ad blocker on stuff, or I don't really use my. Like I said, I don't really use my phone much, but. I've certainly cut down. Let's not say I don't use my phone much. Ask me in 6 months. So, who are you trying to, like you said, like who are you trying to connect with? Because me as a music fan, I don't want to see a fucking advert ever. Like, and me listening to a song, I'm not like, this song's. I'm sure I've said this to you before. This song's great, but no, it would be like saying this. This song's good, but let me check how many streams it's got, because then I can ascertain whether it's great or not. Let me just go quickly. I need to check the streams first before I say how good this song is. If I hear something, whether it's in a coffee shop or on shuffle on my phone, or I don't know, a gig from a support band playing, and I've not heard it before, I'm like, fucking, if I like it, I'll be like, this is great. I'm not like. It's like an analogy for this is like going for a meal and having, I don't know, let's think of something posh. Having scallops for starter. I like scallops. Having scallops for starter. Sorry, vegans. Seitan scallops. Having a really nice starter, and my first thing being, how many other people have had this starter before me? How many other people have you served this to? Because if it's the first time anyone's at this, I'm not sure whether I like it. Like, what? No. Let's get real here. Like, if something's fucking great, and I dig it. I don't care. So if I don't care as a music fan, why are you so invested in it? Why? Because if you spent that, what do you want from it? Because it's not money, as we've already said. You get fuck all. So we're not getting money out of streams, so don't worry about that. It costs enough to make a good quality song, so maybe spend more time on the quality anyway, because what are you trying to prove? You can fake numbers now. You can pay some dodgy Instagram site 50 quid and you'll get those streams. So if that really matters. But again, going back to the filming of the gig, this is the dangerous side of it, right? The filming of the gig, the quality shit. The song's not that good, but as long as I've fucking got those 1,000 streams, everyone else will think, fucking hell, John's really good. And it's envy. You want other people to say that you're good. And it's like,
you want that validation, right?
And look, I get it. We all want validation from our peers, from the people we work with, from our friends. We want to say that we're a good person, because when someone says you're good, and you feel you've done something good, and they validate that makes you feel better. It makes you feel like you have purpose and fulfillment, right? But you're lying to yourself by trying to get it through, trying to put a number on something which is really like an emotion, right? It's trying to commodify something. Like, it's weird. Like, it's weird.
No, you're right, and it is weird, and that's irrational human behaviour. But unfortunately, that's just where we are. I mean, it works the other way, right? So I do think when you think rationally, these kind of things are obvious, but think about the concept of like social proof, right? Think about a restaurant with a massive queue outside it. You might not have eaten in there, you might not have seen the menu, you might not know anything about it, but the one next door, no queue whatsoever. What one do you want to eat in? Like, clearly there's something good going in. That one with the queue, there's a reason that queue's there, right? Like Nando's, they're very good at creating a queue. You want to be in there. You want what everyone else is kind of looking at. And so I don't think that the analogy quite works in music. I don't think you see something with 1 million streams and ultimately going, oh, that must be great. Like, I want to hear it because music's a lot more abundant than that. But I think we really can be influenced by just what other people are looking at. And it is a really hard concept to get your head around, and I haven't quite figured it all out, but it does seem like a prevalent irrational behavior to want something or to be interested in something just because other people are. And of course then the flip side of that is, as an artist, you want to be that thing, right? You want to be the thing that has the cue, has the buzz, has everyone just wanting to hear you because other people want to. And I think that puts you into the trap of chasing numbers. But it's a weird beast, and I think you should be, somewhat proud or lucky, maybe, I don't know, that you've seen through the fog and you've found what actually does make you happy, and that is something real and attainable, and you've really got that. And I think you've got a clear idea of what being successful means, and a healthier concept, right? Because that is something you can sustain and be happy with.
You 100% took the words out of my mouth. So I was just about to say, like, sustainable. That's what I want. I want to be able to make music until I croak, right? That's all that matters to me, right? I don't. However, the other way of doing it, and I've seen it, people just disappear. Like, they just can't handle it anymore. And that said, I understand, like, after this year and releasing so much music, I'm going to take a break and I'm going to go and do something with a bit more... do something different. I don't want to go into too many details, but I'm going to do something different. I'm going to work on other things and, take time out. And I get that, but, I want to constantly be trying... Not constantly. I want to always have I want that choice to be mine. That's what it is. I want that choice to be mine. Like, when I decide to make music, when I don't. I feel like when you put in so many exterior factors, like, am I getting approval from other people online? It's so fucking still weird to say. Am I getting approval from other people online? Do people think I have worth? Then I would quit. I'd walk away from it, because I wouldn't be getting a joy from it. I keep going back to, like, the thing of when I was working as a musician, right? I stopped doing it because I wasn't getting the joy from it, right? And I won't go back. Because no matter how much money someone gives me, I won't ever get that fucking thing. I won't get that magic thing, right? And I feel like the more you go off track of your, like, take your fulfillment off that track, the harder it is to go back to it. Like, I honestly believe, like, if you're investing your time and money and effort in approval via if the biggest slice of the pie, let's look at it this way, is invested in pleasing others, making yourself appear better to people you're essentially, I hate to say it, but social media isn't a social life, disconnected from people that's why it's so important for me to work with others in studios and that, because you get a connection, you learn something, you grow, right? But when you don't do that, you're driving your car really fucking fast in the wrong direction, and it's very hard to stop that fucking car, turn it round and drive back to the thing that you really should be connected to, which is music, which is making music, listening to music, being in it. Fucking hell, like, I know I said this to you, like, we have the opportunity to express ourselves with a plank of wood and 6 bits of string on it. Like, oh my God, like, that's fucking incredible. Like, what a I'm trying to think of a better word than honor, but what an honor to be able to do that, right? Don't then look for someone else to tell you that that's good or not. That's great, man. Like, you can't get that from other people. Like, it doesn't matter, but you can't online, should I say? You can get that from, working with different producers, working in different studios, different scenarios. You write different songs, you learn different things, you grow, you think about different processes. You work with people who can, do things on a synth I could never do, or play structure a song a different way I never thought of, or use reverb on a vocal and as a technique and as an instrument in itself, like using things around you and building on that. Like, fuck, man, what you telling me that this one thing I could express myself with just with an instrument, now I can take to someone else, they can build on that and make it something bigger than I could express myself? What the fuck? This is crazy. Like, that's fucking mental, man.
It's magic,
that's so good. You've got all these people who, although they express themselves through music in a different way, you can all come together and make something bigger than the sum of all the parts, right? And then you can record that feeling, and then you can put it out for the rest of the world to listen to. What the fuck? Like, that is incredible. No other form of art. Painters don't get together typically and like all work on one canvas together, each with a brush, right? It's a very insular way of making art. But with music, there's so many people involved. Like, you can make it so big. Like, there's a reason why people love bands. Like, because you see 4 people on stage moving to the same fucking tune, but in different ways. It's mental. That shit's mental. Like, wow, what a fucking thing. Who cares about anything else? Why would it matter? But you have to have enough. And to answer your question, yeah, I'm really fucking lucky. I'm really proud that I have these thoughts and feelings, in a sense, like, because you can't take that shit from me. Like, no one can say whatever anyone says. They will never take that feeling that I get from making music away from me. So, but you can take away the other way of doing it, the likes and the shares and the subscribes. It's all takeaway. It's all, fuck, how am I doing? Oh no, I haven't got enough. Like, oh no, someone didn't share my post, but they shared the last one. So is this one shit? Like, you're only ever taking away from the joy that you get. Whereas the other one, inputting other people, collaborating, connecting with people, it's only ever adding to it.
Yeah, it's a real shame, isn't it, that really pure magic and simplicity of what music has got lost and disappeared and succumbed to the other stuff, the numbers and just the bullshit, really, isn't it? It so easily happens. But yeah, music's incredible. I mean, like, think about why you got into it in the first place. Like, the first time you ever picked up a guitar certainly wouldn't have been, you wouldn't have had the aim then to think, well, I'll pick this up, learn it, get 1 million streams, and I'll be happy as Larry. Like, you got into it because it was just this cool thing you could enjoy, and you found that you could express yourself with it over a period of time, right? And I guess that's actually a good reason, possibly, why some people don't continue with an instrument, right? Maybe they learn it and find that they're not expressing themselves through it. Like, music isn't universal in that sense. It's why you have different instruments and players and people getting music in different ways. That's the beauty of it. But yeah, that soul and that kind of mysterious beauty of music has kind of vanished a little bit, and I think that's a shame. And I think it needs people like you just reminding others of that, there is something really just simple and magic behind what you're doing, and there is a huge amount of enjoyment to be found in that. And I guess that's a really good time to just quickly talk about your 12 songs.
Yeah.
But just call it anti-albums, what I like to call it.
But I know.
Your
I
project.
like that you like to call it that. I do think of that probably once a fortnight. This year, I'm going to call it a quest. Fuck it. I'm feeling hyped. My burrito's kicked in.
Sweet carbs.
Yeah. Sweet carbs. Never enough. There you go. Talk about likes. Never enough carbs in my life. This year, the year 2021, I decided to go on a bit of a quest, really, work with as many people as possible with my songs. And I thought it would be a great idea to release one a month for 12 months of the year, each one in a different studio with a different producer or both, or sometimes different musicians involved. And yeah, it's weird because we're now end of October, so I started this properly in October last year. So it's almost been a year to the day. I think it was like Halloween last year that I went to the first recording studio, which was on a bus, funny enough, with a guy called George Holiday, who's funny enough playing keys in the band for the gig in December, which I'll get to. But it was, oh man, what a crazy idea, and a great one. And I remember chatting to you and Jump about it, and you were like, "It's such a great idea, such a great idea." And it was, and I learned a lot, and it was really, and I already knew when I started doing it and working with other people pretty early on. I was like, "Shit, this isn't about me." And I went into it thinking, it's about my songs. Look how fucking great I am working with all these people. And then sort of like into like March, April, it's like, no, it's not about me. It's about the other people, right? It's about the producers and the musicians and the collaborators and the studios. And then I got again, and I thought that was it. I thought I'd been done with my self-discovery at that point. And then I think I got to about June, and I was like, shit, it's not about any of that. It's about the song. It's about the song. It's the song. The song is the fucking nucleus for this thing. And we're all just trying to serve that. And it's all just trying to make that song as good as possible. And like I was saying to you before, like for me, that was the real joy I got from it. I was like, this is the shit. This is why so many people were miserable in lockdown, because we didn't have connection, right? We didn't have the connections we used to have, whether that was going to the pub and seeing our friends, whether that was going to a gig, or whether that was having the freedom to, do things together, the togetherness, right? Like quoting that book again, one of the single biggest causes of depression and anxiety, it seems obvious to say it, but it's loneliness, right? And I found like so much, and it's not really, maybe not cathartic, but so much understanding of myself came from reconnecting with other people, but not just like going back to, in my opinion, my own bad habits of partying and, putting my energy into things that I wasn't actually really interested in, and putting that energy into something I really cared about, which I guess last year gave me that perspective. Like, okay, I can't do anything else, but I can play guitar, right? So I'll just start writing some songs again. And being able to be in rooms with other people when the common goal is just like, let's make this song, aside from me, the artist, or the producer, or the engineer, let's all of us come together, sometimes for a day, sometimes for a few days, and let's take this song and make it as good as it can possibly be. And then we've done something together, and I feel like I'm repeating myself, but like we've had that feeling of togetherness captured in something, which you can't often do, and then we get to release it. And the beauty is that there's always something to think about, and there's always things to learn from other people. Like you always, and this is not devaluing. I feel like people could be like, yeah, fuck off, John. I can now, because of lockdown, I can sit in my room and write all my songs on a guitar in my bedroom and record them. And I want to make clear, like, there's absolutely a place for that. Like I still do that, right? This is no hologram. There are guitars on my walls, podcasters who have just got audio and pointing at instruments to show that I have instruments. There's always a place for that. There's value for that, but also there's so much you can learn from other people. And like, I don't feel like, for me, when I got out of school is when I started, it sounds cliche, school of life, baby. But when I got out of school, I started doing things that I really wanted to do, like play guitar, or like read books that I was interested in. That's where like I started finding my voice. And I guess the point I think of this year is not finding my own voice, but seeing other voices work together, or other people come together to do something purely for the love of it. Like, none of us were like, right, we're going to record this song, but my gosh, if this doesn't make us, if this doesn't land on a Ferrari advert, or or if we've not got 10,000 streams, like it's fucked. Like no, I think barely a conversation with anyone about any of that shit, because we just love making, and it goes exactly back to the thing of before. Like I just love making music. It was a great way to do it. Taught me a lot about time management. Didn't teach me too much technically, although maybe some people will agree I'm probably better at getting vocal takes done in under 100 takes now. But I think mainly it's just that, I know I keep saying it, but I really want to hammer like that feeling of connection. Like, oh, you can't understate that. It's so like important.
I feel like the way you summed it up to me once was, there's a common phrase of it's not the destination, it's the journey. And you go one step further and say, no, it's the people you meet on the way.
Yes, yeah, it's the people on the journey. Because like anything, we're stories as humans. The beauty that we have is outside of any other animal is that we can tell stories, right? No other animal can really tell a story and sit down or write a story. But I think I've just realized now, like the thing that we all identify in stories is the people in it, is the characters in the story as well as the plot, right? But it's those characters that we look to, that we see in ourselves, right? Be it a film or, I do feel I have a lot of Johnny Depp in me with my looks. But do you know what I mean? There's a lot of like identity we have, but when you tell it through the prism of a story, coupled with the people, it's like, well, that's the shit, isn't it? That's the stuff that gets not handed down, but like that's the stuff you sort of cling to and you refer to. Like there's a reason why, we sit down, or even if it's watching Traffic Cops or Road Wars, or watching, which I love, by the way, or Netflix, or going to see the new James Bond, or reading a non-fiction book or a fiction book, or going to the pub and someone telling a story about something. They're all. It's a people thing. It's that feeling. The more you have that in your life, the more you have people that not problematic people, or not people that are destructive or harmful to your life. Well, those stories are of course interesting. We all slow down when there's a car burning at the side of the road. But like in your own life, like having people that fulfill you and you can be part of their story, they can be part of yours. Like untold riches from that. Like personally, like that's the priceless shit, And I think that's why people feel, especially last year, but societally, a lot of people feel very disconnected from their jobs because they don't see much of themselves in the people they work with, or the corporate structure of the man at the top, be a good boss, good dictator, or Kim Jong-un. Like there's people have problems with that because they can't identify it, because it doesn't tell them a story that they want to hear and they don't see value in it. So anything, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, it's been a really nice story. I've been able to chapter it, I guess, this year and putting those songs out. But really, the sort of, I guess, the untold story, or the way I think about this year, is all these different people I've met, all these different stories. Like now chatting to you, all stories we've swapped or conversations we've had. Like that's the shit, man. Like that's the stuff that really like empowers you, fulfills you. It's fulfillment, isn't it? And that's what gives you value in your life.
It lasts. It's the bit you remember.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it sticks with you. Yes, it's just that's the human condition, right? We're looking for connection. It's simple, but I guess it's easy to sometimes lose sight of it.
It's the most obvious thing that no one fucking talks about, right? Because we notice it's
missing,
right?
And then you notice it, like, oh shit.
Of course, yeah. So well, I don't, yeah. This is stuff that is a very new revelation to me, to be like, oh shit, yeah, I like playing guitar, but why do I like playing it more when I'm with other people? Or because it's that, like it's new to me. It's having that perspective on it. Like,
what's made it really apparent to me, actually, I've recently started journaling, which is not something I ever used to do, and I'd wholeheartedly recommend anyone do it. And part of my process with that is just really simple, just jotting down 3 things that I'm grateful for in a day. And more often than not, 2 out of the 3 of those things will be people, or at least living things. My dogs sometimes make an appearance. I'm very grateful to have my dogs in my life. But yeah, people, like my wife, my family, like you just, you don't take them, well, you shouldn't, and you end up, getting better at it, but you don't take them for granted, but you just stop and think about what you really got, And yeah, it's people. All this, it's not stuff. It certainly isn't streams from the music. It is the people, and I think that's what makes your project so great. Like, yes, there's a music at the end of it, and that's all well and good, and that all tells a story as you go, and you've got 12 completely different things there. But for you and people you tell the story about, there's way more there than just 12 tracks. There's like a whole year of just really rich, valuable, memories and life experience, right? And that, I guess, is better than any single or 12 singles, whatever they may go and do for you in terms of success and streaming and stuff. Like the journey you've had making it and the process and the people is like, you'll never forget that, right?
No,
it's just
exactly. And it's weird because there's part of me, and still now, even though I've recorded everything and it's queued up for release, there's a song on the fucking 12th of November, I think, and then the 10th of December, and I'm done. And maybe I will feel something on the 10th, for like that satisfaction of like, oh, I've completed it, it's out. But then I feel like I also have been in this situation before where like I work hard to a goal and I get there and I'm like, I don't really feel anything. And I think the thing with that, maybe it will be the gig. Maybe it'll be the gig will be the thing. And I think it's a bit, I think the reason is it's a bit deeper than that, because it's all these, like you said, it's all those, the change in me, like it's changed me as a person, like being able to look at things from that perspective and being able to take that fulfillment to a level that I couldn't have understood before. And maybe I would have got there further down the line if I worked with fucking 10 producers over 10 years or something like that. But I feel being able to work and, weird things like being able to walk into a room, like I've suffered with social anxiety for years and and now having the confidence to be able to walk into a room and know how I want my vocal chain set up maybe, or how I want to record things. Like I couldn't fucking imagine being able to do that, or being able to just say I didn't like a take, things like that. Like those little confidence things, but those are all things like you can take outside life.
Yeah, let's dig into that some more. I'm really keen to know, all this stuff, how it affects everything outside of music, your relationships and your, work, those kind of things.
Yeah, God. I mean, how deep can we go? I mean, I think it's important to... I think... I'm trying to think, how honest do I want to be? How vulnerable do I want to be? When the world was opening up, back in June, July, the anxiety and depression that I'd felt bubbling for years came to fruition midway through this project. I really didn't know what to do with myself, if I'm completely honest. I only told a few people about this, but now it's out in the world. And I had to do something about it. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't see any meaning in anything I did. It was really hard for me to exist, really. And I kind of always felt these sort of things in a subtle way. And I think the project did bring that shit out, actually. But that's a good thing. I want to make clear, I'm not saying this to jump on any fucking bandwagon. Mental health isn't a bandwagon. It's the fucking thing you feel. And I got, for the first time, I got therapy. And I've seen a therapist since, I think she told me, was it 4 months now? Yeah, it's 16 hours worth of therapy and going. And it was really rewarding for me, I think, from experiences with other people in my life who've told me that it worked for them. Previously trying therapy about 2 years ago and having a shit experience and walking away from it and still dealing with anxiety and, coming to terms with why did I feel like that? What what was driving it, and digging into all the really interesting stuff, and working on work. Again, I'm so careful to make this not sound cliche and like be honest about it, but really look at yourself in a way that is the project definitely brought that out in me. Like I was feeling I didn't have control of for years, like never had control over or couldn't understand why I felt uncomfortable in certain social situations, or why I'd have long periods of not feeling like I had fucking value or worth in anything. And it definitely brought that out and made me talk about that through therapy. And even now, just talking to you about it's really fucking hard for me to do. And part of me, a lot of my body or brain is saying, stop talking about this. You can't talk about it because you're mad and you shouldn't be vulnerable and you shouldn't talk about your feelings. And like, there's a reason like death, suicide in men is so fucking high. Like I don't want to get the statistic wrong, but I think it's the biggest killer in men under 45 now. Like, and this is not me saying I was close to suicide. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not trying to glamorize this stuff. I really want to make that clear. But I do feel like when this year made me look at myself in a way that I hadn't before, and made me question like what these feelings were, and spent time with my therapist to. It just sounds cool saying that, doesn't it? It does sound cool. My therapist, it do sound important.
Rock and roll.
But right, and working through that stuff and working on who you are as a person, and it's a weird one to talk. I've never really talked about it properly. Obviously, I have with people really, really close to me, like, and it's really important for me to feel okay, I guess, with being like vulnerable and talking about it, because there's such a huge stigma on this sort of stuff. Like, because even now I'm like, shit, if people hear this, they're going to be like, oh, he's depressed. Like, what's wrong with him? He's going to top himself. Like, fucking hell. Like, and I think the real problem, and I think, again, I'm conscious not to say this to speak on behalf of the male population, right? But I think a lot of the problem is that it's a lot more scalable than that. Like, we all have the classic phrase, we all have down days. And I think the reason that women are naturally more emotionally open, and men put that stuff within themselves and take it out when they've had 7 pints on a Friday, or when they're at the football and they're overtly aggressive, like it's not being processed the correct way. I feel like this year gave me the opportunity to actually write, what's the fucking problem here? Why do I feel like this? What am I going to do? Not all. And I think the thing I learned, or I'm continuing to learn from it, is not, and I really hope this resonates with anyone listening who has slightly felt like this, like not asking myself, why me? Why do I feel like this? What is wrong with me? Like, why am I anxious? Why am I depressed? The question you need to ask yourself is, what now? What do I do now with this? What can I do? What is the choice I have? It's not as simple as me saying, oh, just pretend to be happy and you'll feel happy. That shit doesn't work if you don't see value in your own life. But you do have to make, there's a great book, which absolutely, my therapist recommended it, called The Choice, by Dr. Edith Eger, and she is a Holocaust survivor. She's a therapist, and she's 93 years old as it stands, and still going strong. And she had a lot of, her book is about having to make that choice and not addressing her problems for years and years and years. For 40 years, she didn't talk about the Holocaust, and she had to make a choice to discuss it. She had to say to herself, what now? What can I do today that could improve my life? And it was talking and being vulnerable and opening up. And I don't know, I feel like I've gone off on a tangent here, but I think this shit's really important to say. It's important for me to say it. It's quite empowering to talk about it, because I've never talked about it before. But like, I find that shit really, like, music's a great source of expression, right? And we're told you can do anything if you put your mind to it. but I got halfway through my project and I couldn't put my fucking mind to it. So what do I do, right? What do I do? Stop, right? And I think the answer is you have to ask yourself, what now? What can I do? What choice? And this is kind of what the book's about. What choice do I have? I can choose to be a victim of my own anxiety, or I can choose to free myself from it, or free myself from that depression. I can make a choice to open up those pages, as painful as they might be, and express myself in a way. Again, the same as the music thing. It's a connection, isn't it? It's a connection thing. What can I do to connect myself to who I really am, to get out of that pain? Because we all suffer pain. And it's a great point about like comparison, always different. Well, her pain was a lot worse because she had the Holocaust, right? She was in death camp, so her pain's way worse than mine. And one of her opening lines is, "There's no hierarchy to the pain you feel." And I was like, fuck, that's it. Now I've got to stop comparing myself to other people's pain. I've got to fucking look at my own. Oh, it's like there's kids starving in Africa, right? So my pain isn't valid. And I was like, oh shit. And little things like that it's really important to identify. If anyone's listening to this and is thinking, shit, oh yeah, I mean, sounds like John's had a rough time. My thing isn't quite as bad because I'm not, and it led me on a completely different journey. And now does one therapy session. I'm studying to become a therapist now, and I've started going back to college to work on that sort of stuff. So that's kind of the thing I'm going to be working on outside of music after this project.
Wow.
So so it answers your question, what else has it changed in my life? Like, it's completely changed my life. And that's not to say that I'm not going to still look at music and focus on that stuff. But I found I'm amazed I managed to keep this together without getting upset. But I like being able to like help others, as cheesy as it sounds, be able to understand, like, I think my goals in life have been changed by this project because I had to deal with that shit at some point, right? And yeah, it's kind of led me down a different path. And it's completely, again, like, music has been the catalyst to get me there, to reassess and reevaluate my perception of life, the people around me. I saw that's quite a lot. That's more than a TED talk. That's like 4 TED talks in one. But that it's been a wild ride, man. And I think that's part of, music has taken me there, right? And it's taken me to somewhere different. And it's taken me to a place I never expected it to go. But I can't not put, like, do you know what I mean? I'm into that thing now of taking the car somewhere else. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dude. I mean, yeah. Thanks so much for sharing that. I'm really grateful you have done. It's it's so relatable, and it's great when people do talk about it, because you find that the reaction that comes with it often isn't judgment. It's actually like, just like, yeah, I kind of feel the same, and suddenly realise that everyone's actually in a similar boat. And yeah, like I say, especially men, because we just don't talk about this stuff. And I think what fills me with hope is this isn't the first conversation of its kind, right? We are doing this more now. Yeah. And I'm really, really happy that's happening. And I think for the next generation, it looks way better. Could I have this conversation with my dad? No,
safe.
And so I think we're in this really interesting, transition where we've gone from boys don't cry to, yeah, you know what? Sometimes they do, and let's chat about it. And it's not easy. Like, when I talk about it, because it's still a new thing for me to really express. Even as I'm doing it, I've got a weight being lifted in one sense and a knot in my stomach in the other, because it's hard to get those words out. It is hard, but after you've done it, it's like so much better. And kind of tie it back to what you were saying earlier, like, people, it would not have been possible for me to talk about my stories to people without my wife. She's absolutely like a savior with this stuff. Like, she can listen like nobody else I know, and she just say the right stuff. And Jump as well. Like, he's a bit. He should probably be doing this podcast, not me, because he's really, really good at just just listening and just saying enough and just really letting you kind of unload, I guess. It's very emotionally switched on, and it's something that I never used to be at all. I was terrible with anything like this, and it's one of the biggest changes I've made, and I'm so glad I have, because it's been eye-opening for me. Like, I've learned so much about myself and my past and where I want to be and the changes I want to make in my life, and that it feels so lonely sometimes, but nothing could be further from the truth, because this is just so normal, especially in music, especially in creative fields. Like, I don't know what it is about, I'm certainly not a biologist, and I'm not going to even get into whether or not musicians' brains are wired in a particularly different way, but it does tend to be the case that creatives suffer with this stuff a lot more. And maybe I'm biased, maybe I just know a lot more creative people than I do in other fields, so I wouldn't say that's an absolute fact, but
I don't know. Again,
it feels like that's the case.
I'd be interested to know. I will say this though, if anyone else, because I think this is a bit, stumbled across these guys, maybe you've heard of them, literally today, just out of research, wanting to tie music and therapy together in a way that isn't sat around a campfire singing Kumbaya with the Amish. There is a great company or charity, I guess, charity called helpmusicians.org.uk, who offer support for musicians if they're touring and feeling burnout. Loads of resources on there, including counselling, but also helpful guides. So if you just Google Help Musicians, UK-based charity doing really, obviously, incredible work outside of, specifically for musicians, because I think it's a very fucking fickle. We talked about all this stuff, like I feel like talking about social media and promoting that is all massively impactful to your mental health, right? All of it. Even me with my slightly better perspective and attitude towards releasing stuff, like as again I said, like I still suffer with anxiety, I still get low mood, sometimes get depression, like so that stuff still permeates me, like so it can affect a lot of people. And if you want to feel generous, fucking hell, I've made it about me. I'm gonna make it about me. The gig that I have, we should probably touch on that.
Let's talk about your gig.
So I get as many people together from the project to play a gig for myself, of course, but also in aid of the mental health charity Mind. Not just profits, all money will be going towards Mind. It's at the Brunswick in Hove, which is basically Brighton, but not quite, slightly posher sounding, less syllables. On what did I say today? It's Saturday, December the 4th. It's with a full band. George Holiday on keys, who wrote Not Lost With Me and is a fucking lovely man. Not the other two are. Rhythm section are absolute arseholes. No. Simon Treasure on drums, who played on a couple of songs of mine, and a great bass player called Matt Aston. Yes. So if anyone's listening to this thinking, I've got nothing to do on December the 4th, please make me appear charitable. Come to that gig.
Tickets still available?
Tickets still available.
Awesome. I'll put a link in the description for this then.
Exactly.
It would have been bad if I put the link in and you couldn't buy them, wouldn't it?
God. tinyurl.com/Seaton Live.
Catchy. Nice. Love
right?
It. Yeah. No, I say I just to wind back a little bit, just really do, applaud you for actually going out of your way and getting therapy, getting help, because that, again, sign of the times, I think used to be like a sign of weakness, or like, oh, he's lost the plot, he's getting therapy. Like, no, like that's just, it actually takes some fucking guts and balls to go and do that. And
Thank you, man.
I massively applaud you for doing it, and I really hope that anyone listening that is teetering on the idea that maybe they should and are worried about it, take that plunge like that. It could be really life-changing.
Yes, I will say this, a couple of things on that. If you are thinking about getting a therapist, 100% go to the BACP, Bravo Alpha Charlie Papa, BACP website, where you can see accredited fully qualified therapists, not dodgy marketing life coaches. Please steer away from that shit. Yes, the BACP website, just Google that as a resource. And yeah, I will say that, like, I genuinely believe this. I said this the other day. I'm a firm believer that every single human being on this planet can benefit from a session of therapy. Just try one session. Typically, by the way, if you are looking for a therapist and you're like, shit, what about the money? Like, typically, first session is always a discounted rate, like a tenner for an hour, or sometimes it's free, depending. Again, make sure they're BACP accredited. And just see, like, if you don't like it, you can walk away. I'm not being endorsed by anyone here, like, but I genuinely believe, like, everyone can benefit from therapy with the right therapist, can improve their lives. Whether you think you're really, really struggling, and I think it's called the Hamilton. It is called the Hamilton scale. 1 being jumping for joy, 51 being extremely acute suicide chances. Like, wherever you feel on that scale, I do believe that everyone can improve their number on the Hamilton scale just by having a session and talking about things. Like, again, like, I feel elated from our conversation because I've opened up and been a little bit vulnerable and a little bit scared, and then talked about it, and then turned out you feel the same. Like, that's a lot of what it is, right? Sometimes it's not really the heavy shit. It's just just taking a little bit of, everyone could do with a little bit of baggage taken off their back, right? And if a little bit of your time can go into therapy, like, I just cannot endorse it enough.
Yeah, and talking is just a magical thing. And I used to just be so bad. I just couldn't get a word out in a particularly difficult moment. I'm so glad I kind of was, I don't know, worked towards the ability to do that. I don't know what my personal discovery with that was, but I was reading something a little while ago about, and this is great and really sums this up, about professional trained therapy, that obviously has a place, and it doesn't really need explaining. We know what that's there for. But of course, it can't just end there or just be that, because you're only there for a period of time. What can go a huge distance towards achieving the same kind of results is this, just not therapy, just chatting, just talking. Just I think it would refer to as like everyday therapy or something like that. I can't remember the word that was used, but it is just this, and it is something that the health department, government were looking at trying to encourage. It was about setting up calls between people and chats that not trained, they're not medical professionals, they just chat without judgment, and it's remarkably powerful. And that for me is as far as I'd go in terms of helping me. Yeah. I'm not a trained professional, I'm a mental health advocate. I really think people should talk about it and look after themselves, but I've got an ounce of training in the matter, and I'm certainly not going to give anyone any advice or kind of do these things to help yourself. I can certainly share my own experiences and stories, but I think just chatting to people is remarkably powerful. And I'm really glad you've mentioned Help Musicians as well, actually, because they're a charity that Big Beats Coffee, we work with a portion of our end of year profits go to that charity.
Wow.
It's not something I've spoken about a huge amount, because until the end of year comes, I really don't know what that's going to look like. But having a partnership with them was absolutely in the plan from day one of setting it up. It was a big kind of motivator, and I had a lot of chats with them before setting it up, and so they do some really, really good stuff, and would definitely recommend giving them a call if should you ever need it as a musician and you kind of need an ear, I guess.
Yeah, man, it's all good, isn't it? And I think to your point, like, you were like, I don't know if I'd be a good therapist or have any therapeutic training, and it just made me think. Well, funny with the about 5 hours of college I've done, like, it's all vested in listening. And it was really interesting hearing the first thing you said was, "Oh, Jump's great. Jump's such a good listener." And I'm like, yeah, that's the therapy you need. Like you said about conversation, like, just knowing you can have someone like to chat to about this shit. And I don't disagree with the whole check in on your friends. Are you all right, mate? Like, there's a place for that. But what's way more impactful or meaningful or valuable, I guess, is if the person themselves feels they can approach someone and say, hey, mate, I'm not all right. Right? That's the thing you want. You want to be able to have someone you go, look, I'm feeling really fucking anxious today. I can't deal with work. And your boss being absolutely fine with it. Or saying to your friend, look, I can't make it to the pub. I don't feel like I can get out of bed today. I'm really miserable. Like, and that being okay, being able to voice that. Because as soon as you start expressing it and working with other people, like you said, yeah, I'm the same. Me as well. And as soon as you know, someone else is the same, you're like, it takes the insular pain away from you. And you're like, it's a shared experience. Fuck, it's not just me. It's fucking everyone can feel these emotions, right? I'm not so unique or so much of a freak as feeling like this. Like, can happen to anyone at any time. And the way, 100%, the way to get out of this stuff, and I do speak from experience, is like literally talking about it. Just talking about it, and it doesn't need to be a big, deep, going back to childhood trauma kind of chat. It can be this is what's bothered me this week. This has made me angry. This has upset me. This has frustrated me. I don't know what to do with these feelings. I don't know why I can't get out of bed in the morning. Like, just those sentences, just being able to say those words to someone who's accepting of them. That person doesn't need to give you advice or tell you what to do, but just be there, just to be there by someone's, or be receptive to it. That's all it is. Be receptive to it.
And I guess then, to that extent, surrounding yourself with people that enable that. You can do that stuff with, and I guess everyone's not the same. They're not in the same position, and I guess it makes me realise how lucky I am to have people like my wife, Sam Jump. Like, they're just so good for that stuff. Like, you could just talk to them for an hour about without even being prompted. They just make you feel so comfortable that you can just go to that place knowing there's not an ounce of judgment. And I guess maybe if you don't feel like you have that within your friendship circle, I don't want to say look for it. That sounds really harsh, but maybe there is something missing there, and you could benefit from talking to some new people. And maybe that is where support groups and arranged therapy can come in if you haven't got that support network around you, if you're not fortunate enough to have that, because I realise that I am incredibly lucky, and maybe not everyone's got that.
Yeah, you're right. And I think I've really got to fucking wrap it up soon. I've got to just caveat this for anyone listening on the podcast. My landlord's coming around for an inspection tomorrow morning at 9. So you can imagine the amount of fucking hoovering I've got to do at 8:05 on a Wednesday. But I do think to sum things up, like, yeah, we strip all the, and it's, of course, I love talking about music, coffee, stories, all that shit, but all of it is our mental approach. At no point did we talk about, I've lost £2 this week, or I've got a rash on the bottom of my foot I'm worried about. Like, none of that stuff. The physical shit that we see is so obvious, right? And just to end this on a quote, it's really, if we see someone limping down the street, we know automatically there's something wrong with their foot, right? But we don't see when someone's walking down the street and they've got acute anxiety or depression. Like, there's no arrow pointing down, right? And I feel like everything we've talked about today is that shit. It's like looking at those arrows and looking at talking about what drives us, what is good for us, what is bad for our health. And when I say health, it's all mental health, right? None of it is based on that physical thing. And I think, yeah, music's a part of that. Therapy, coffee, all these things are all intrinsic things that make our life, back to the intrinsic, like, make our lives feel better, don't they? Like, and that really should be the purpose. Like, what can we do to fulfill things for ourselves? And maybe a lot of the people listening to this are guzzling coffee, and that is great. And you should buy Big Beats coffee.
John, that's perfect. Let's wrap it up there. That's yeah. Thank you so much, man.
No worries,
Thanks for coming
man.
on. You are an inspiration, and I'm hugely grateful that you've come on and shared all your experiences and your stories. That's been magical. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
And wish you all the best with the rest of the releases and the live show, which I'll be there for. So I'll see you then.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone. You can find John's music on Spotify. Just type in John Seaton. And as we previously mentioned, if you do find yourself struggling, then do get in touch with Help Musicians. You can go to their website, that's www.helpmusicians.org.uk. They do some really great work, and you can find their phone number on there. Give them a call. As always, if you want to get your hands on some beautiful coffee, just head to the Big Beats website. It's www.bigbeatscoffee.com. If you enjoyed this episode and found it useful, then leave us a review. Leave us a rating. It just really helps us find new people that are going to get some value from this as well. And lastly, if you're an artist or a producer or anyone working in the music industry and you're interested in coming on the podcast, sharing your insights and your stories, then please do get in touch with me on sam@bigbeatscoffee.com. That's all for now. So until next time, make great coffee, make great music, and make even better conversations. Take care.